The transport ship arrived without warning. It dropped out of hyperspace above Outpost K like a sudden thought made real, its shadow sliding across the metal domes and solar fields. Alarms did not sound. Sensors did not scream. The ship did not behave like an enemy. Still, every human on the outpost felt something was wrong. Elias Ward stood near the observation window of the command hall, his hands resting on the cold railing. He was a logistics officer, not a soldier meant for first-contact drama. He had joined the Frontier Corps because he liked quiet systems, clear supply lines, and predictable problems. Outpost K was exactly that kind of place, far from trade lanes, far from politics, far from trouble, until now. The alien ship was tall and narrow, shaped like a blade turned upright. Its surface shimmered, not from light but from motion, as if the hull itself breathed. No known species used such designs. That alone made the room tense. "Any response to hails?" the commander asked. A technician shook her head. "They're not replying, sir, but they're broadcasting something, not a language signal, more like a declaration." Elias frowned. "A declaration of what?" The technician hesitated, then looked up. "Presence." Before anyone could respond, the ship began to descend. Landing protocols were ignored. No request for clearance. No warning. The ground outside the outpost vibrated as the alien vessel settled onto the rocky plain, its landing struts cutting into the dust like spears. Elias felt a strange pressure in his chest. Not fear, not excitement, something else, as if the air itself had shifted. The outer gates opened automatically, overridden by an external signal far more advanced than human systems. Soldiers raised their weapons, though none of them believed they would matter if things went wrong. The ship opened. She stepped out alone. She was tall, taller than any human present, and her posture was straight, calm, and certain. Her skin was a deep, muted blue, smooth and unmarked. Her eyes were gold, bright but not harsh. She wore armor that looked ceremonial rather than military, etched with symbols that glowed faintly. She did not look around in confusion. She looked directly at Elias. The moment her eyes met his, the pressure in his chest snapped into clarity. His breath caught. He did not know why. He did not know how, but he knew in the deepest part of himself that she had come for him. The alien woman raised one hand, palm open. The soldiers hesitated. The commander gestured for them to hold fire. She spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, and carried without amplification. It was not English, but the outpost's translation systems activated instantly, struggling for a second before stabilizing. "I have arrived during the season," she said. "I have followed the call. The one who stands before me is chosen." The silence that followed was absolute. The commander cleared his throat. "Chosen for what?" Her gaze never left Elias. "For bond, for duty, for union under law." Elias swallowed. "Sir," he said quietly, "I think there's been a mistake." The alien woman stepped forward. The ground seemed to respond to her presence, the dust settling around her feet as if in respect. "There is no mistake," she said. "The season does not lie." The commander exchanged looks with his officers. "We don't recognize any season or law. You are on human territory. We need clarification." She turned her head slightly, finally acknowledging the others. "I am Valith of the Karzan clans. This world lies within the neutral reach of our ancient paths. During the season, boundaries yield." That was not reassuring. Elias felt every eye in the room shift toward him. He took a slow breath. "Valith," he said, forcing his voice to remain steady. "I don't understand what you think I am to you, but I haven't agreed to anything." Her expression changed, not anger but surprise, genuine surprise. "You speak as if choice is uncertain," she said. "For humans," Elias replied, "it is." That seemed to interest her. She studied him more closely now, her gaze sharp but not unkind. "Then you are stronger than you appear." That was not how humans were usually described by advanced species. The commander stepped between them. "This conversation is going nowhere." If this is a diplomatic matter, we need to contact Earth Command. Valith nodded once. You may inform your leaders, but understand this, the season has begun. The claim has been made. If it is denied without cause, my people will respond. Respond how? The commander asked. Valith's eyes flicked back to Elia's. With judgment. That word echoed unpleasantly in the room. Elias felt heat rise in his face. You're threatening my species because of something I didn't ask for. She looked at him fully now. No. I am warning you because you were chosen despite not seeking power. That alone marks you. That made no sense. And yet, something in her tone made Elias believe she was telling the truth as she understood it. Earth Command responded within hours. Holographic representatives appeared in the command hall, their expressions carefully neutral. They had already pulled records on the Karzan clans. What they found did not help. The Karzan were old, very old, older than most recorded civilizations. They were not conquerors, but they were feared. When they declared something sacred, they defended it with absolute certainty, and the season was one of those things. It occurs once every few cycles, one analyst explained. During it, Karzan instincts are heightened. They believe bonds formed during this time are guided by something beyond logic. Biology? Elias asked. Partly, culture more so. Refusal is considered an insult to fate itself. The commander looked tired. So what are our options? Limited, the analyst admitted. We can reject the claim and risk diplomatic collapse, or we can hear them out. Elias felt the weight of the decision settle onto his shoulders. Why me? He asked. There are thousands of humans here. Valith answered before anyone else could. Because you did not reach for your weapon, because you questioned me without fear, because when the call echoed across the paths, you answered without knowing. I didn't answer anything, Elias said. She tilted her head. And yet you are here. That night Elias could not sleep. The outpost felt different. The air was heavy, charged. Karzan observers had been allowed inside under strict conditions. They moved with quiet purpose, their presence unsettling but not hostile. Elias sat alone in his quarters, staring at the wall. His life had been simple: service, duty, maybe retirement on a quiet colony someday. Not this. A soft chime sounded at his door. He opened it to find Valith standing there, unarmed. I was told humans value direct speech, she said. They do, Elias replied. That doesn't mean we like surprises. She considered that. Then I will be direct. During the season, my people are judged not by strength alone, but by wisdom and choice. If I had claimed a warrior seeking glory, the bond would be weak. And claiming a confused logistics officer is better. Yes, she said without hesitation, because you did not seek to be chosen. That is rare. Elias rubbed his face. You keep saying bond like it's a contract or a sentence. It is neither, Valith said. It is responsibility. That word again. On my world, she continued, bonded pairs are expected to protect balance, not just between themselves but between peoples. You were chosen because you stand between strength and restraint. Elias laughed softly. You don't know me. I know enough, she said, and the season will reveal the rest. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time noticed the faint tension beneath her calm. The season affected her too. Whatever she was risking, it was not small. I won't be owned, Elias said quietly. Her eyes softened. Nor would I accept a bond built on ownership. They stood there, two beings from different worlds, both caught in something larger than themselves. Outside, the alien ship hummed softly, its presence a reminder that the galaxy was watching. And somewhere beyond charts and logic, the season continued, uncaring of human comfort. Elias did not know what being chosen truly meant, but he knew one thing. Whatever came next would change humanity's place among the stars forever. The decision came 3 days later. Earth Command did not order Elias to refuse. They did not order him to accept either. Instead, they sent a message filled with careful words and heavy pauses. Humanity could not afford a war with the Kharzan clans. At the same time, no human could be forced into a bond under alien law. The choice, they said, was his. Elias read the message twice, then a third time. It did not feel like freedom. It felt like standing at the edge of a deep drop, with everyone watching to see if he would fall or fly. Valith waited. She did not pressure him. That alone made the situation more difficult. She moved through the outpost with calm respect, speaking only when spoken to, observing humans with open interest. The soldiers noticed that she never raised her voice. The technicians noticed she learned quickly. The doctors noticed her biology was strong but controlled, as if power was something she held back by choice. Rumors spread. Some humans were angry. They said Elias was being used. Others were curious. A few were afraid that refusing her would bring consequences no one could stop. Elias himself felt pulled in two directions. Part of him wanted to say no and return to his old life. Another part knew that his old life no longer existed. On the fourth day, Valith asked him to walk with her outside the outpost. They stepped onto the rocky plain under a pale sky. The alien ship loomed behind them, silent and watchful. Wind moved across the ground, carrying dust and distant echoes. "The season reaches its peak soon," Valith said. "After that, all claims must be tested." "Tested how?" Elias asked. She looked at him. "By the galaxy." That answer did not help. She explained as they walked. The Kharzan did not believe in bonds formed in isolation. When a claim involved another species, observers were invited. Allies, rivals, enemies, they all came to see if the bond was false or true. "And if they decide it's false?" Elias asked. "They will challenge it," she said. "Not always with violence, sometimes with trials. Sometimes with politics, sometimes with lies." Elias sighed. "Sounds familiar." Valith gave a small nod. "Humans are not so different." Within a week, the observers arrived. Ships filled the sky above Outpost K-17. Sleek vessels, massive carriers, strange organic structures that pulsed slowly. Species Elias had only seen in briefings now stood in the same halls where he used to drink bad coffee and complain about supply delays. The outpost became neutral ground. Elias stood beside Valith as representatives gathered. He felt small, not because of their size, but because of what they represented: old powers, ancient grudges, civilizations that measured time in thousands of years. Whispers followed them. "That's the human. He looks fragile. The season must be weakening them." One alien, tall and heavily armored, stepped forward. His eyes burned red beneath a ridged brow. "I am Korath," he announced. "Of the third claw, I challenge the claim." The room went quiet. Valith did not flinch. "On what grounds?" "On worth," Korath said. "This human has no claws, no strength, no instinct. He cannot protect balance." All eyes turned to Elias. Elias felt his heart pound, but he stepped forward anyway. "If this is about fighting," he said, "you'll win. If it's about killing, you'll win faster. If that's all your people value, then maybe you're right." A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd. Korath laughed. "Then you admit weakness." "No," Elias replied. "I admit limits. Humans survive because we know them." That was not the answer they expected. The trials began the next day. They were not physical. The first trial was restraint. Elias was placed in a controlled environment with a simulated threat. His task was not to defeat it, but to choose when not to act. Many challengers before him had failed, striking too soon or too late. Elias waited. He observed. When the threat became real, he acted just enough to stop harm, then stepped back. Observers murmured. The second trial was empathy. He was shown records of past conflicts between species, asked to judge who was right. Elias refused to choose sides. Instead, he spoke about consequences, about cycles of revenge, about how every war began with certainty and ended with regret. Some aliens grew uncomfortable. Others listened closely. The third trial was loyalty. Korath arranged it himself. A false report was sent to Elias, claiming that Valeth had manipulated the season, that the claim was a lie designed to gain influence over humans. Elias was given proof that looked convincing. All he had to do was denounce her publicly. He asked one question. "May I speak with her?" Korath refused. Elias closed his eyes for a long moment. Then he looked up. "If this is a test of loyalty built on silence and doubt," he said, "then it's already failed. Loyalty without trust is obedience. Humans don't confuse the two." That answer ended the trial. Not everyone was pleased. Behind closed doors, factions moved. Some saw the bond as a chance to weaken the Karzan. Others feared humans gaining respect they had not earned through conquest. A plan formed. During the final gathering, when the season would be declared complete, an attack was launched. Not on Valeth, not on Elias, on the observers themselves. Explosions tore through one of the docking platforms. Panic spread. Accusations followed instantly. Humans did this. No, the Karzan staged it. Weapons were raised. Old grudges surfaced. Elias moved before anyone could stop him. He stepped into the center of the hall, unarmed, his voice amplified through the chaos. "Stop!" No one listened. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He spoke clearly, steadily, naming ships, naming timelines, pointing out inconsistencies in the accusations as they flew. "This attack benefits those who fear cooperation," he said. "Check your sensors, compare data. If you fire now, you prove their point." Slowly, the noise lowered. Valeth stood beside him, her presence steady. Together, they uncovered the truth. A small coalition of minor powers had planned the attack, hoping to turn the season into a disaster. The revelation changed everything. By the time the season ended, the bond was no longer the main topic of discussion. Humanity was. They had not arrived with fleets. They had not threatened war. One human had stood in the center of chaos and chosen clarity over fear. Valeth looked at Elias as the final declaration was made. "You have been judged," she said. "Not as a mate, as a bridge." Elias exhaled slowly. "Is that good?" "For the galaxy," she said, "it is dangerous. For us," she allowed herself a small, genuine smile, "for us it is just the beginning." The observers departed with new thoughts, new concerns, and new respect. Outpost K returned to quiet. But Elias knew the quiet would not last. Because once the galaxy sees humanity clearly, it never looks away again. The season ended quietly. That alone shocked the galaxy. No war followed. No dramatic punishment, no fleets moving into position. The Karzan clans issued a simple declaration across known space. The claim stood, and the bond had been judged worthy, not because of dominance, not because of instinct, but because balance had been preserved. For many species, that explanation made no sense. For humans, it did. Elias Ward remained on Outpost K-17, though the outpost was no longer small or forgotten. Ships arrived every week now. Diplomats, observers, curious scientists, careful spies. Everyone wanted to see the human who had stood in the center of the season and changed its outcome. Elias did not feel like a symbol. He still woke early, still drank the same bad coffee, still checked reports and schedules. But his world had shifted. Every action now carried weight far beyond his rank. Valeth stayed. She did not return to her people immediately, though many expected her to. Instead, she requested time, time to understand humanity better, and time for the galaxy to adjust to what had happened. Some Karzan elders questioned her choice. She answered them calmly. "The bond does not weaken us," she said. "It reveals what we have forgotten." Elias and Valeth worked together slowly and carefully, not as rulers, not as symbols, as partners. They spoke often about law, about instinct, about fear. Valeth admitted that during the season her instincts had been strong, almost overwhelming, claiming Elias had felt right in a way she could not explain, but staying afterward, choosing to remain even when the season ended, that was her own decision. Elias respected that more than the claim itself. One evening, as they stood on the observation deck watching ships come and go, Elias asked, "Do your people regret it?" "Some do," Valeth replied. "They believe power should be proven through challenge alone. They fear what cannot be controlled." "Humans fear that too," Elias said. "We just pretend we don't." That honesty mattered. Months passed. Humanity's position in the galaxy changed, not through treaties forced by strength but through invitations. Humans were asked to mediate disputes, asked to observe trials, asked to explain how a species so young could resist instincts that ancient civilizations still obeyed. The answer was never simple. Elias explained it once to a council of 3 rival species who had fought for generations over a single star system. "Humans are not stronger than you," he said. "We're not wiser either, but we learned early that survival depends on cooperation inside our own species. We argue. We fight, but when we face extinction, we choose together," one counselor scoffed. "Choice is weakness." Elias shook his head. "Choice is responsibility. Instinct is easy. Choice costs something." The council fell silent. Not everyone approved of humanity's rise. Koreth returned. He arrived without announcement, his massive form filling the docking bay. Many remembered him as the one who had challenged the claim. Some expected violence. Elias met him alone. Koreth studied him for a long moment. "You have changed nothing," the warrior said. "The strong still rule." Elias nodded. "True, but strength isn't always what you think it is." Koreth leaned closer. "The galaxy will test humans again, harder." "I hope so," Elias replied. "That's how we learn." Koreth left without another word. Valeth watched from a distance, her expression thoughtful. "He respects you," she said. Elias laughed softly. "That's worrying." The real test came a year later. A border conflict erupted between 2 major powers, old enemies, old hatred. Both sides requested human mediation, not because humans were powerful but because they were seen as neutral, unbound by ancient instinctual debts. Elias was sent as part of the delegation. The talks failed quickly. Accusations flew, threats followed, fleets gathered. One side issued an ultimatum: withdraw or be destroyed. The other prepared to strike first. Elias stood before both leaders and did something unexpected. He resigned. "I will not represent humanity in a war you've already decided to fight," he said. "If you want a witness instead, I'll stay." They laughed. Then he stayed, unarmed, unprotected, present. When the first shots were fired, they missed him by meters. The second volley never came. Sensors recorded the moment. Both fleets paused, commanders unwilling to be the ones remembered for killing the human who had trusted them. Negotiations resumed. This time they listened. The agreement that followed was not perfect, but it stopped the war. That was when the galaxy understood. Humanity's strength was not in ships or weapons. It was in the willingness to stand exposed and still choose restraint. Back on Outpost K-17, Elias felt tired. Valeth found him sitting alone, staring at the stars. "You carry much," she said. "So do you," he replied. She sat beside him. "The elders have asked me to return, to teach, to explain what the bond revealed." "And will you?" Elias asked. "Yes," she said, "but not yet." He looked at her. "Why?" "Because the bond is not complete," she said. It was never about mating season alone. It was about alignment. Elias understood then. Not ownership, not destiny, alignment of values. They did not rush. They did not announce anything. The galaxy watched anyway. When Valeth finally returned to her people, she carried human concepts with her: choice, consent, responsibility. When Elias visited Carson Worlds, he learned discipline, patience, and respect for instinct without surrendering to it. Together, they became something rare. A stable bridge. Years later, young species would ask how humanity rose so quickly. The answer would not be about weapons or wars. It would begin with a story, about a quiet outpost, about an alien woman who arrived during mating season, and about a human who was chosen, not because he was the strongest, but because he chose wisely when it mattered most. And that, more than any fleet, changed the galaxy forever.